This is good, man.
Actually,
Doing more than I thought I would. This is first.
I'm lucky. This is absolutely.
Are you playing Rocket League?
I am the king of Rocket League, mofo.
I've never said mofo before, but I believe you deserve that because
You're all shit. Yeah, you're all shit, aren't you? Me, I'm the king of the road. King of the Rocket League. Is it called Rocket League?
Tejbz med vänner. Tejbz med vänner. Tejbz med vänner.
Yo, what's going on, everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the podcast Tejbz med Vänner. Today, I'm joined by the English-speaking comedian Al Pitcher, who hangs out here in Sweden, and I think we are really lucky to have him because he has over 20 years of comedic experience. He's one of the funniest guys in Sweden right now. He was born in England, raised in New Zealand, and of course, today's conversation is going to be arranging a wide variety of topics, but of course, a lot of it is going to be about stand-up. The importance of MC, inspirations and all that, and we also realized towards the end that me and Al's roads may have already crossed as early as in 2010. And if you guys want to watch the vodcast, it's over on the YouTube channel Tejbz Comedy, or if you guys just want to listen to it, you can do it on all these audio apps. But don't forget, you need to rate this podcast 5 out of 5 stars or I will definitely snipe you. Now just sit back, relax, and enjoy a lovely episode with Mr. Al Pitcher.
yeah, I'm here. This is a nice place, man.
Right. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. What were you expecting? Because we only met a couple of times.
Yeah.
And,
I thought it would be some kind of swanky. Is that that in Swedish? Swanky is kind of this kind of hey man, like sliding doors and like a dog walking around.
Oh, really?
But this
no
is
cats?
this.
I love cats.
Oh, you like cats?
Yeah, I love cats. Yeah.
I had a cat when I was a kid, but it was the kitten of the mother we had, and they just used to fight, and then it went mysteriously missing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, one of those.
Who did it?
Wow. I mean, the prime suspect would be my father.
Yeah.
But he's in denial. He's in prison now for other crimes. No, but he basically.
Really?
yeah. No. So I thought it was going to be kind of. I like this. This feels like shall we say a workstation, a workplace.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, do you before we start recording, I asked you if you have a son who is in like the gaming age. It's not that, but have you ever been like a gamer at any point?
Football manager.
Yeah.
That's about it. Very addictive.
Oh yeah.
My wife was about to not give birth, but I think she was going to go into labor.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I gotta make some exchanges,
I'm playing like Hartlepool away in the League Cup, which is, And I remember her just going, can you turn your phone off?
Yeah.
Like, I think it was one of those where the mother of the child says to the father, get some sleep now.
Yeah.
Shit's going to happen.
Oh yeah.
And I was just,
Yeah. I am. My girlfriend is pregnant.
Oh wow!
Right now,
congratulations.
So we're having a baby in October.
Wow.
So I'm thinking a lot about, because the closer you get, the more you realize like, oh my God, life is about to change tremendously. But I'm also like, well, should I play extra much video games right now, or because I do play, but I don't play that much. To be fair.
How do you feel about being a dad?
It feels amazing and
surreal
in many ways because we talk about it all the time, and I think the main thing is that I'm really glad that I have this type of job that I have now, where I can have a lot of free time, and my girlfriend is also very flexible with like office hours if she has to be, because she works for Disney, and they're pretty flexible, so she can stay at home, hopefully while working as well.
Yeah.
But I feel it's like exhilarating, and I'm really nervous in the same way because everyone keeps telling me, life is gonna change, blah blah. But it's so hard to picture it before
For
it
me,
happens.
it's sort of like you jumping off a cliff
Yeah.
into water. You can't see the water, but everybody's behind you going, things are going to be different.
Yeah.
But we've done it.
Yeah.
You'll get used to
Yeah.
it. But you're like, this is kind of scary, man.
Yeah.
You know. So the freakiest part for me was, you know, just walking out of the hospital with a child.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because I picked up the wrong child. No, I didn't. Bit of comedy.
Hey,
Where's the camera?
get it.
No, I
Yeah.
I need to stop doing that as well. You can't really.
It's like a Mark Norman, if you know.
Oh yeah,
Comedy.
yeah.
Hey, comedy.
Hey, comedy, huh?
Who I really like, Mark Norman.
Yeah,
I
same.
think he's very good. Weird how the internet, like things like Instagram, have really kind of they've really changed comedy.
Yeah.
Because you can obviously see that he asks for a suggestion
Yeah.
of a topic, and then he's got a joke, and then he's like, "Hey, comedy."
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's what audience think. You know, because there's a lot of crowd work stuff
Yeah.
on Instagram now as well.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if that's what audience expect. You know, when they're going along, they're seeing someone go, "All right, mate, what's wrong with your shoes, you
Yeah.
idiot?"
Yeah.
Great banter. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking shoes.
Yeah.
Look at your boots. They're starting to grow roots.
Yeah, man, lace them up,
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
Look at your goddamn boots. For Christ's sakes, they're starting to grow roots.
But I definitely think that a lot of people expect when you go into a stand-up, either they're expecting to see like one comedian for 45 or an hour,
yeah.
and they get kind of shocked, like, oh wait, this guy got 5 minutes.
Yeah,
and, he didn't
yeah.
even talk to the crowd.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I think.
And also people
Yeah.
seeing the Netflix. I think that's one thing. I don't know much about the gaming world and everything and doing videos. But what I do see, if I ever see them, it's not, it's obviously not scripted. B, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
And C, it's kind of, you know, you've got things that happen and then they don't happen. But when you watch comedy now, when you watch these specials, it's this crafted hour,
Yeah.
which has been performed maybe 200, 300 times at least.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of the stuff. So it's the best stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel when they come to see it, they're kind of they're watching a TV show,
Yeah.
but you want to just go, hey, can we just chat a bit? You
Yeah.
know? And some audiences are up for it. Some Swedish audiences are not. But
Yeah.
I think, you know, I just think the social media world of comedy has changed comedy.
Yeah. We always kind of trickle into a conversation about social media because
Yeah.
I feel like everyone is somewhat worried about it as well.
It's a
because-
business though, eh?
Yeah.
You know, and there's only I personally I would love it if there wasn't social media
Yeah.
and people would come to shows, but you need to do it. And I quite enjoy the buzz of
Yeah.
posting something and seeing
Yeah,
that-
it's spreading.
Yeah,
And like, yeah.
you know, I quite like I'm not really into the algorithm, the analytics of it all, but
But you are very active. You do post a lot of Instagram that they're easily shared and easily commented and liked sometimes.
Yeah. I sort of, there's parts of me that go, that is from I put up stuff that are from shows that have been on like Netflix or the latest one's on Spotify.
Oh yeah.
And so they're finished reels.
Yeah.
I've never ever put one up from like Big Ben,
No.
try an idea out now. Like, you know,
Yeah.
the Euros, the football last night,
Yeah.
someone got injured, you do, you know, or Hungary won in the last minute, you do a joke about that.
Yeah.
I've never done anything quite like topical as, you know, I think if you write a joke, I think I just want to keep it
Yeah.
and show, you know.
And like make it as good as possible
Yeah.
and then release it.
Yeah.
That's really interesting because there's I've been chatting with a lot of comedians ever since getting into the game, and
Yeah.
some people's advice are like, okay, you write a joke, you can go and perform it, and if you get laughs, you can share it on Instagram.
Yeah.
So it's like very different kind of like approach to that?
Yeah, I also think I've been doing it for 20 years, and I still don't know if and where I am as a comic.
Yeah.
You know, I know the kind of style I like doing. I like making people laugh as hard as possible.
Yeah.
I know that sounds like an obvious thing, but a lot of people get up there and they want to say things.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people use comedy as therapy. I think they just, need to say the shit out in public.
Yeah.
But I actually enjoy making people laugh.
Yeah.
I haven't lost that buzz, but I still don't know. Every time I come around to writing a new show, I think, God, should I talk about things, trauma, you know?
And my childhood.
Yeah. And that priest, know.
Did you do that when you started out, or was it still bits?
I came from, also your peers.
Yeah.
The people that you're going on stage with, like, say you're doing, the clubs that you would do, say you're in Stockholm, Malmö, or Gothenburg, right? Sorry if there's any other places, but I know there's other places, but those are the ones with the biggest.
Yeah.
Like you could
potential crowds.
You could do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, where the smaller places. And I think that you sort of you go up. Well, you see these people every like maybe twice a week. You're on with someone.
Yeah.
So I think they do influence you. And when I started, we were really influenced in being a bit surreal.
Yeah.
And a lot of improvising.
Yeah.
And also hosting shows in the UK is so much different than here.
How come?
Well, the host is generally the host. You talk to the audience. Then you might do like one joke.
Yeah.
And then brings. But a lot of them here, they just go up and do their routines.
Yeah.
You know. So so I came from this thing of like, and I had like terrible gigs, deaths, because I had no safety net. It was like, just keep with this idea that this,
Yeah.
And it is difficult because you've got to find your niche in what you do. You have to be different than other people. You can be same, but you have to be different in a way. And it's difficult having your own little lane.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because you're kind of like, you look over and you go, oh, they're doing that.
Yeah.
That works. I'll go over there. And then you forget your thing, So I've seen comics do really below the belt stuff, funny, but I've always gone, how are you going to sell tickets? Like, it's funny. The comics are laughing. Some people are laughing. But out of the 50 in the audience, 3 people are loving you.
Yeah.
Do you focus on those 3? Next time you come around, it's 6.
Yeah.
Then it's not. And then, you pick up your audience that way.
I remember going up and I think I've written that joke during like the comedy class that I took. It was about, because I have Crohn's disease, which is inflammatory bowel disease.
Okay.
So I've had it like pretty rough growing up, and I used to have like a stoma bag.
Okay.
And I remember I was getting laughs at that joke, but it was like, I mentioned, I have Crohn's disease, and and like I have a stoma bag. You can just see people go, oh. Yeah. And it was so like, I needed to do that. I did that joke, I've done it like 10, 20, maybe more times, but I've stopped just mentioning stuff like that because I want to only have like the fun part of it. And like if you have 10 minutes or 5 even, it's so hard to kind of get
absolutely
like the audience to forget, this guy used to have it super bad. Like now he's joking about, a doggy bag on your stomach. Like, can we laugh about this? Like, is he actually okay?
It's almost like you do need like at least like 30 minutes, 20 minutes to be kind, be likable, and then tell your thing, and then
and also exactly.
Also with Crohn's, just for me personally, if I was in the audience, I'd be like, Crohn's, what's just
you have to like explain it basically. I mean, definitely learned a lot by doing that. And I remember doing that joke. Like the last time I did it was in front of like an American comedian called Sam Talent, which is really, really fun. Like he did like a gig at Big Ben on Thursday, like in the second half, and it was some of the best crowd work like I've seen.
Yeah.
No offense.
No.
And he was so good. And I remember doing that, and then it landed pretty good. And then afterwards, I was like, shit, like I should have just done other jokes in front of him. So you're like constantly analyzing and
I mean,
and
but
learning.
this job is. It's hindsight all the time. I mean, I did a gig recently, and I died beyond belief.
Yeah, really?
Like, and I got angry. There was only like 15 people in.
Yeah.
And I saw the first 2 or 3 acts go up,
Yeah.
and they really bombed.
Oh yeah.
But I thought, I've got enough tricks to just turn.
I can flip
even
this
if
around.
even if it doesn't go good, I can go. Well, that wasn't great. You know, just use every kind of shit. Nothing, man.
Yeah.
Nothing. And then, but I learned a little bit from it afterwards. I sort of walked away and thought, I shouldn't have got angry.
Yeah.
You know, there was a guy stood up and went, A for effort. And it was like, you know. And he might have been thinking he was helping.
Yeah.
But it was the worst.
Yeah. Interesting, like he probably thought that he probably had no idea who you were as well. He's probably like, oh, I'm going to help out this struggling guy. Who,
and sort of your timing goes, you know, or you shorten things.
Yeah.
So you don't tell the story. You just
you cut out
you
the
do a little
premise.
bit of the punchline, and you're like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But I would never go, don't you know I do comedy? But I felt like saying, I've been doing this for years, man.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing wrong? It felt literally that I was from a foreign land, in a foreign world. It was
on a different planet.
It was just, that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Foreign land is just...
I was like, we are in a for you,
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Have you... what do you take, like, how often does it... Because it's, like, kind of comforting hearing that it's not constantly going well for someone that's just yourself.
Not to be an asshole, I think that was probably the worst gig I've ever done in Sweden.
Yeah.
Like,
where was it? Was it, or maybe you don't want to mention?
No, because it was, but it was bad.
Yeah.
You know?
But I had one of those like recently. I went up and it was like it was just a big band, so it's like fuck it, you know, like some new jokes, and there was like a company like after work.
Okay.
And the boss was there, of course. None of them laughed, and I tried to talk to them, and they were like, "Yeah, we don't really want to talk."
Yeah.
And then I was literally like, well, why are you here? Like, you go home if you're not even gonna like laugh a little or talk or you know. So, but I think, do you ever? Are you like standing brushing your teeth and then like you see that moment, or have you like that was it? And now...
I walked away from that one almost with the same adrenaline from doing great at a gig.
Yeah,
I was a little bit shaky. Yeah. I was because I still care. I still want to be on there and people go, oh, that was great, man, and also. I'm always in this process. So if I go down to like, say, Big Ben, I'll never do the best stuff because I'm trying to get the new stuff through. But I've got all these things that should work. Yeah. But I don't think they would have worked that night either.
Yeah.
And I've done that before.
Yeah.
I've been at a new act night and I've tried a new joke and it's not, and I've gone, okay, right, let's bring out.
Yeah.
Let's bring out
the big guns.
Let's see how this goes. And they're still going, nah.
Yeah.
So I think it just reminds you that it just bites you on the arse.
Yeah.
But I walked away and it just sticks around in you. And I think brushing the teeth and remembering it, and I'm like, it's like a bad date, man.
Yeah.
It's you know, but I think there's a British comedian who's got this kind of rule of like, you've got to forget the gig by midday the next day.
Yeah.
Even if it goes great or bad.
Yeah. You got to move on.
Yeah. And you know, I haven't lost any sleep over it, but it still made me sort of kick my ass a bit.
Maybe it made you also a little bit more alert. Maybe for like future gigs, you might. I feel like sometimes you just need to go down.
Yeah, I got told later on that the second half was an absolute disaster. It was even worse.
Yeah.
And I actually did okay compared, but you know, you all have these standards, but I think you can laugh about them because after a while, but at the time, you're drowning.
Yeah. And the more you pedal.
And then like that guy's not trying to help me. You know, this whole thing. So I was like, who the fuck are you, man? You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly.
Without, you know, I think you got to be as close as possible to be you, right? Yeah. Closest. That's the best comedy is when you're just you, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're on stage and you react as yourself, that is the funniest because you're a funny person.
Yeah.
But there's also stuff you have to hold back.
Yeah.
Or else you'll probably never work in, you know, you know, because you can't just go, that, and just, you know.
Yeah. I bet you have seen so many of like first time or, you know, very starting out comedians just go up and be extremely like, it's so over the line with like, you know, könsord for the Swedish word. It's just like very derogatory. And you're like, well, you probably sat around your pals and you are laughing at these things, and now you think you can translate it up to the stage, and it's
definitely
not the same.
And I also think people watch Chappelle, Bill Burr, and they see that they're edgy comics, and they just go, I'm just going to be, this is just going to be like, and they just don't have any charm or
and they also haven't really understood like how a joke is set up. They're like, pussy. It's like, all right, cool. You said the first thing that came to mind.
And they almost like they kind of tiptoe around the things, and a lot of them are like, oh, you can't say this. You can. You can say whatever you want. But just be funny, and I don't think they've got that backup.
I think it's Jimmy Carr's latest special. I think he starts out with going,
you will have heard this. People say, you can't joke about anything these days. Watch me now.
It's just like one of the most, it's just so many jokes in that special. You were born in England, and then you grew up in New Zealand.
That's right. Yeah.
I did. I mean, my parents are also, and my sister are like your biggest fans, so they keep track of this.
Okay.
I didn't even have to go to Wikipedia.
Cool.
I did go to Big Ben's website, and you also have a profile there, very ChatGPT written, so you know. You might want to check that out later.
I saw an ad for. I think AI is being used quite a lot there at the moment. You know.
Yeah, but New Zealand. What do you think is the? Do you identify as a New Zealand? How do you say
a Kiwi?
Kiwi, yeah.
Or
Kiwi.
a New Zealander.
A New Zealander.
Yeah. I found it. I think I've got an English sense of humor for sure, like British. But I when I went to New Zealand, never felt like I was a New Zealander, like. Although I'd lived there for so long, maybe 20, 22, 3 years. Yeah. But I never felt like, I was always like, oh, you're British, aren't you? You moved here.
Yeah.
And then I felt when I went back, they were like, oh, you're New Zealander. And I was like, no, I'm kind of. Yeah. And then I'm here now. Yeah. And people are like, but who are you? Yeah.
What are you?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. We're constantly defining everything.
Yeah. And I also my ideas on like stand-up I think are British more than like say American, you know, more than New Zealand. New Zealand's a bit kind of downplayed, a bit sarcastic in the sense of like Flight of the Conchords.
I was gonna ask you about them because I've been like a real big Flight of the Conchords fan, especially like growing up. Listening.
You're trying to say, oh yeah, it's business time. It's business time. that's what you're trying to say. You're trying to say, let's get down to business. It's business time. It's business. It's business time.
I'm good mates with the manager in the show,
the ginger,
which is Reese Darby.
Yeah.
Who's a great stand-up, very funny.
Yeah,
you know.
I think I've seen some of his clips as well.
Yeah, he does a lot of sound effects.
Yeah.
And just a bit. He's very playful. They didn't, but Reese came to my wedding in Norrköping.
Oh.
It's just so weird now to think of like these international comics that came over.
Yeah.
And they arrived at Stockholm Skavsta, and there was a bus.
Yeah.
you know,
like, come over.
Yeah, and I think they stayed in like a hostel. You know, like there wasn't enough hotels. Just great. But so there was about 4 or 5 New Zealand comics in London at the time.
Yeah.
But the Concords were always so cool. Like they were almost. It was like. They were like superstars.
Yeah.
From
I bet. Yeah.
You know, and when they did an Edinburgh show, it was just full every night of comedians watching them because every comic wants to be that cool.
Yeah.
You know, and good looking and you know.
Yeah. And like successful with the TV show.
And you know, and they also did a thing where they had the idea for the TV show. They took it to the New Zealand TV channels, and they were like, nah, you know, you haven't really, you know, what have you done? And they'd go, oh, we've done this, we did that, we won this, come back when you've done more, you know. And I think that's that's an attitude I've sort of had, you know, I've taken things from New Zealand, like growing up in New Zealand, you know, like you have the Jante, law of Jante. Yeah. We kind of have this thing called tall poppy syndrome, which is the same.
Yeah.
There was a band called Crowded House who didn't get success until they went to America and came
exactly.
back.
Exactly. You're big in Japan. You can't, man blir aldrig profet i sin egen hemstad. You never,
absolutely. Yeah. And I think so I feel British, but I'm all over the place. Again, you know, when we talk about comedy, I wish I could put that into a stand-up show. I don't know how interesting that would be, but I think a lot of people don't really know where they're from, you know? But again, just fucking heavy.
Yeah.
Just, would I want to watch me talk for 80 minutes on where I belong?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Have you? Do you know Theo Von?
Yes.
I saw him live in Stockholm a couple of years ago, and then because he talks a lot about like him growing up and all his friends and all that. And so I mean, there's definitely comedy to be made in things that are growing up. And he's also like, my uncle's a raccoon or whatever. He always has like the craziest stuff, and you're like, is this true?
Oh, absolutely.
But it doesn't really matter as long as it's like really entertaining and you believe it.
He's such an amazing storyteller, and you think the story's going, and then he'll go, and then he was like a one-legged pirate that punched my mum's teeth. What?
Yeah.
You know, it's
like
just,
can you start over?
Yeah.
Mostly, I used to consume comedy just on YouTube. And then like late night shows when I was growing up, stuff like that.
I think Swedes are so knowledgeable. I think because they've got their big YouTube comedy watchers, and I talk to comics and they're like, you know this guy, and they're massive, but I've never heard of them. You know,
I consume a lot of like podcasts with comedians as well. And I think that's because that's I've always been like a YouTuber and YouTube gamer, and I used to watch the guys that I then became friends with. So I guess I'm kind of like nurturing this idea that eventually, if I get good enough, I get to hang out with the people I look up to in like America and all those comics, which is obviously a crazy thought, but
why not?
A part of me thinks that like maybe those guys who played Call of Duty, you know, in 2010 they used to watch me, and then you know once I get good enough it can kind of like click. But I consume so much, and I'm a little ashamed to say that I'm also like when I'm at the gym or I'm out walking, I'm listening to stand-up specials, or stand-up or clips or highlights on YouTube. I'm just I've become like a sponge that just want to consume as much as I can. And it started like before I started doing stand-up. Like, okay, maybe I can do this, you know, after the course.
Absolutely.
And it took me so long to get started, but
did you always want to do it? Or?
I've always wanted to do it, but I've always wanted to do it as like a late night show host. That's like been my dream, you know, like a Conan or Jay Leno.
I think we all have that, don't we? Yeah,
that's the first contact that I got with though like monologues in the beginning, and like SNL, watching it on TV during, I don't know, Saturday or Sunday in Sweden in between study breaks, and so it's definitely, I do think it's a really cool place where it's at now. There's so many stand-up comedians that I find entertaining and that I find really, really good. There's so much to listen to as well.
I think what's also quite amazing is like the stand-ups, they produce a lot. And I think like Louis C.K. and Bill Burr were doing this 1 hour special per year. But then I think the quality kind of fades out. Like, you know, and now they've gone back to like every 2-3 years. I think some comics have, like musicians, they have that 1 or 2 album, which is just, wow. And then maybe they'll do 6 albums and the other 3 might not be like,
play the first album, song, you know.
You know, so I think we're kind of getting there, kind of, you know, the catalog of stuff that people have.
I think I'm kind of getting where you're at with that, because there's specials that you'll see now on Netflix by really established comedians that are just not very good, and it feels like it's rushed. It feels like they haven't done the time, and this is obviously just guessing and kind of wondering if it's correct, but I feel like they've just written it. They go up and perform it in front of a huge audience. And the audience is like, well, I love Ricky Gervais. So this must be good, you know? And then when you look at it at home, you're like, well, this is kind of
I think people get with this as well. With, you know, we get so busy with other stuff. Like we say, social media takes time, and podcasts, and you know, and I think a lot of comics just started watering down what they do.
Absolutely,
So when they go back, it's like a gym comedy. You've got to be in there as much as you can. You know, and once you start not going, it's like, you know, it's a real muscle. You have to keep doing it. I just remembered that I once, you're talking about gaming though. I once hosted. Would it be Call of Duty 3? Is that something?
I have. Was it like an event that you were hosting? So let's see. So it's like there's so many Call of Duties. There's one every year.
Okay.
It's like with some specials.
Okay. So this is
how many years ago?
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Maybe longer.
So were I there?
No.
Was it in Sweden?
It was in Sweden.
Okay.
And I was hosting it, and the idea. There were so many emails that went around, like I reckon I must have got like 100 emails on how they're going to do it. And what it was they had a celebrity and a real gamer in each country around Europe. And they were going to start at a certain time, and the celebrity would have to be in there. So
wait. But
and
I recognize this.
I feel like, it feels like I've sort of done this.
Hello folks, Tejbz here, and finally it's Black Ops release tonight. I'm here at Studio Company, and it's a little release party for Black Ops, and you know, I'm finally gonna be able to play it. It's gonna be freaking legendary.
I think it was, right? And they were all supposed to go at like 10 o'clock. And weirdly, England and Germany started first. They started like 5 minutes too.
Oh, I thought an hour earlier. They were like,
no.
Time
you know, like they've got history. So they started, and then Sweden was supposed to have the celebrity, and I can't remember who it was. And then they just went, fuck it, and they gave it to the proper gamer who just went in and destroyed everything. Like he was playing like some, you know, singer from England and some German.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I feel like this probably was
I reckon it was you.
Because I remember being at one of my first like collaborations. It must have been like 2010. I had just started doing YouTube, and I came to the, I think it was like a bench, maybe. It was like a big party place, and I remember playing and then disconnecting because the servers weren't working properly, and the time ran out. I couldn't reconnect, and once I got back, none of the other players had gotten the amount of kills that I had, so I still won. And I remember, you know, getting the controller, and one of the PR people were like, "Oh, by the way, if you win, you get an Xbox and a 60-inch TV." I was like, "What the fuck?" And so I definitely tried. Yeah, if that was me, I might.
I'm sure it was you.
Tomorrow I'll be back home in my apartment, power playing so much. It's gonna be freaking awesome. I gotta say, I am tired right now. I need to get to sleep.
I've done a few gigs for like gaming companies, like the people that make the games, and they're pretty tough. Yeah, pretty tough crowds.
I remember going once at a Call of Duty event a couple of years after this one at the Webbhallen at Sveavägen. Yeah. And I remember I was terrified going up on stage. I was supposed to shoutcast people playing. Yeah. And luckily, I mean, it was a Call of Duty event. I had all my peers there. Like, I could have killed in there with some jokes, but I was still like, it's an interesting situation because it's so easy to bomb in front of gamers. And like internet people, they're like so fast with like a boo or something. I've done stage stuff at DreamHack as well.
I done that. I did the one at Gruben.
Oh yeah.
And they just booked me to do 15-minute stand-up in the middle.
Oh, I was there. Actually, I remember. I remember
actually went pretty good, and they were like, "Wow, great!" But there was so much going on. When I say good, it was at least I had their attention. I don't think they were, you know, it wasn't like but it was fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of them are there for watching video games. It's always interesting when they're like, "Oh, now you throw in this person," but I feel like it's getting more and more broad. Like gaming. It's definitely opening up, and all the events are becoming
huge as well, aren't they?
Yeah, there's a DreamHack in Stockholm later this year in the fall, which I think is going to be like the biggest DreamHack ever or something like that. So they're going all out.
Wow.
It. So maybe you can get a gig there. Maybe I can open for you or something. But hey, what's up, guys? I'm a noob. Yeah. Catherine told me, our mutual friend, that when you started doing stand-up in England, when you moved back, you basically you came to a new town and you walked around and you wrote like improv. You wrote a whole new set pretty much every place that you went to.
I did photos.
Yeah.
So I would take like 20, 30 photos.
Yeah.
And then I'd show them on the screen, and then I'd do stories about the photos. And I brought that here as well.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, a thing that really, it was the Al Picture show.
Yeah.
And I think that was a thing that really pushed me, because I did a tour with Riksteatern.
Oh yeah, Riksteatern, yeah.
Because what they do, Riksteatern, is they have a day where people go with their shows.
Yeah.
To like Hollander or something, and you have to do like a 5-minute bit.
Yeah.
And then everybody from all the Folkets Hus around Sweden.
Yeah.
I mean, you can imagine it's like old people with fikas and they watch, and then if they like it, they'll buy it. Right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I was on after, and there was just, you know, people off the street kind of like, I'm going to juggle, you know, like, you know. I eat a watermelon really quickly, and you know, and then I went on, and I was a professional comedian, so I did 5 minutes, and it was just, and then they all went, we'll buy it. Yeah. So I ended up going around Sweden, and what happens is the audience, they buy like a season ticket.
Yeah.
So they watch like the Albanian gay choir.
Yeah.
But then they've also got a ticket for Al Picture, and then they've got a ticket for, you know, Ernst Nugent doing a play, right? So they've got the whole season. They're watching 20 shows.
Yeah.
And so the audience were there. They were old.
Yeah.
But they were, you know, I was out in London basically doing these shows where I'd just turn up and I'd take photos of their little village, and they'd be like, that's, you know, that's Svenny. Like it'd be across the street or, you know, well, that's our traffic light. It was literally that, you know. I think in one in Helsingland, they had a new like escalator.
Yeah.
And it was the only one. It was the biggest news. And I took a photo, and I think most of the show was about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very much like, you know, doing comedy on the seat of your pants, really. But it also screwed me up for later when I then did like arenas.
Yeah.
And then you can't mess around, and you know, when there's 8,000 people there, so you have to write, you have to have stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
But has it helped you in like your writing process to do that so often, to write? Because I mean, you obviously it's probably improv, but I feel like you must have become very quick on your feet and.
Yeah. I also have that attitude of you very much go with the flow. Yeah. Everything's liquid.
Yeah.
So, but no, not. That's a good point. I haven't used it as a writing. You know, I think someone did suggest that.
Yeah.
Was to go over and look at old photos and see if, you know, that would bring up material. But I just try and sit there and write like we all do, and it's very. I think also audiences think you just turn up and you make it up.
Oh yeah.
They really do.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not the case.
No.
And I like to write a show. So I'm writing a new 80 minutes now.
Yeah.
Every 18 months, basically. Yeah. So it's hard, man. This is like my sixth tour. And it's like, you know, and because I aim it for Swedes, it's like, is there anything, you know, and there always is, but it's just, and what I do is I write the 80 minutes. So when you're in Luleå or up in Skellefteå and they're a bit quieter, they don't want to chat too much, you can do the show. Yeah. You lean into the show. Yeah. But then other times you can just mess about and have fun and, you know, and makes it the best night. Like if you're doing gaming, and I don't know much about gaming at all, but I see that maybe the names are coming up on the sides and the messages. So you're in with their I'm doing this. Oh yeah, you know. Yeah. You know, you're blocked.
Or like when you're streaming, people write and you're like, you're shit.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. I'm always like, I always have like a horrible comeback. It's about them or something, or about their name, or you go into their profile and you find something. I can get real petty. Like if they come after me, I come after them as well. But,
how do you feel about the hate? Do you get much hate?
I have not gotten that. I've done a couple of like missteps, I almost said. But I've hosted one time at DreamHack like over 10, 12 years ago. Yeah. And I was terrible at it. I remember that was like probably like the only time I've really been the subject of like a lot of people hating on me. Okay. And it was quite deserved. I was not prepared at all, but it was mostly the producer's fault, to be fair. But that's the one time that I really felt like I didn't want to walk out the door. I felt like it was rough, and I was pretty young at the time as well. I was just like hiding for 3 weeks, and I was like, has it blown over? And thankfully it did. I probably now, if it was like this time, it's probably stick with me even longer. But I've definitely learned my lesson on stage back then. But usually on TikTok, now that I started uploading stand-up clips, that's really scary, because I feel like in the place where I am at now, like I upload something a month later, I look at it, I'm like, oh my God, I'm terrible, because you're constantly evolving. But it was so funny because like I uploaded like a stand-up clip, and I think it has like 170,000 views on TikTok, and I'm pretty noob at TikTok. So, and in the beginning I was like, oh my God, so many skulls. It's like, people must be thinking I'm killing it, dude. And then I was like, nope, that means they think I'm trash. And it was like the most awful. But
That's good to know.
Yeah,
I did not know.
Yeah, I thought I was killing it with the skull, so I was like, and then
killer.
It's actually like it's kind of like a funny misconception. I was like, bro, what the? But I do. I think for me, mostly, I think if I get like hate that is thought out, or if somebody DMs me or something like that, I usually just think that they're jealous or like they have something that they need to deal with.
Some problem.
Themselves.
Yeah.
But I've never really been in like huge drama or anything like that. No. I called out a couple of a-holes in the gaming community, and rightfully so. Like But I usually just picture the people sending me hate. And it's not like a happy sight for them. I'm usually like, well, feel better, bro.
But that's the whole. To me, the gaming world is these keyboard kind of warriors.
Absolutely, yeah.
In their little.
But it's getting better. It's getting a lot better, and I think it's when I started out, it was. I always had like lovely followers, but there's always 1% or a couple of percent that follow you, but they're always like, well, fuck you, actually. So I think.
But also, once you get a lot of people liking what you do, I think the dislikes just rise.
It's kind of
I find with some of the reels that we put out, like. They can be very Swedish, obviously. And then I find that people love them, genuinely really love them.
Yeah.
And then I get these people, and you can see on Instagram, they do not follow me, you don't follow each other. And they got like 2 followers. They've made 7 posts.
Yeah.
And it's just them going, why is this guy still alive? He's so shit, know?
Yeah. But imagine how much time they've spent on just hating on something instead of moving on with their life.
I generally...
Is that the most thing? Like, do you ever get like hate other than...
The only hate is if it's too Swedish and it's someone like me, it can be as simple as like semla. Yeah. And I put up like a vegan semla.
Oh, yeah.
People lost their minds. People are like, this isn't really environment. What disgrace. This is why Sweden's fucked up. And, and then it can be like, Cub or something. Oh, this guy's an idiot. Who the fuck is it? It's just, it's a bit like when people argue about watching TV. It's like, just turn it off, man.
Yeah.
Go on another channel. This is, and especially when they follow you. And then they try and have a go at you. Yeah. I remember one time, and I don't do it anymore, putting up photos of my kids, but I put up one photo and they were wearing the same jacket, orange, and they kind of looked weird, and we were outside this, I think it was called the Twin Peak Hostel or something in Ireland. Yeah. And I was like, I don't want to, blah, blah, something hilarious. Yeah. And then some guy just wrote underneath, I bet you they don't find you funny as well. And I was like,
Yeah, sometimes people come up with like an actual comment that you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and I think some people, they chase them and then they end up turning out that it was okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you would write to like, what the fuck do you mean? People gaslight you. Oh, that's not at all what I meant.
Like, I just block people. Yeah. If people are on my page saying shit, I'm like, I can't be bothered. I had one instance in real life where this woman just came up to me in a shopping center, and she was like, oh, I really like what you're doing, big fan. Can I get a photo? I was like, of course. The kids were there, and then my son, and they used to do this, they still do it. Like, why do you want a photo of him? And she goes, what? He goes, why do you want a photo of him? And she goes, well, if you were as funny as him, I'd ask you for a photo. Yeah. And I felt like saying, I fuck off, lady. Like, you can't slam my son. Yeah. Like,
what the fuck? You're like in real life. It's always like,
like that. That's
actually,
So, it's, but overall, people, I'm pretty mainstream Saturday night. Anybody can watch me, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Like,
is it an active choice, but that you, or could you be more like, I don't know, hardcore out picture?
I think personally, I'm sure if we all look at each other's WhatsApp groups, like I'm sure,
right, yeah.
But I you know, the stuff I write to my mates and all that is, of course, it's different than, you know, but it's not an obvious choice. But I put in filters just naturally. Yeah. Where I go, I don't want to, you know, I'm not going to talk about this, or, you know, I'd hate it if someone came to watch me and was like, oh no, this is, you know, if I started, for example, if I started talking about politics or the war, and then people were watching, they'd be like, oh, I didn't come to see that.
Yeah,
you know,
I wanted to get a break from that.
Yes.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah. But then again, then you can be critiqued for
not speaking out.
And also critics. When I first came here, were like, it was like 5 out of 5, and it was glowing. And then the comedy world, I think, is 4 out of 5. I think most shows get 4 out of 5. But I found that people were now they're at that point where they're like, oh, he's just, the room was laughing so much. Yeah. But I wanted to know more about him. Yeah. You know? And you're like, okay, well, I'll stop the room from laughing. I'll talk about, you know, I mean, in this latest show that I'm writing, I talk about not drinking. Yeah. And that's the first time I've ever done that. Yeah. So, and that's what I find weird about that is I think it's got enough jokes in there. I just think Swedish people, when you go, oh, my dad, I remember my dad, and I said I was thirsty, and he goes, here, have a bit of lager. Yeah. For me, that's a very normal thing. And I'm sure it happens in Sweden, but the Swedish audience seem to go, oh. Yeah. Why? No.
Oh,
so
poor thing.
You were drunk. And I was like, no, I wasn't, you know. Yeah. I was just a 9-year-old kid that had beer. Yeah. You know. Yeah.
Had the slattarna out of the beer glasses and stuff. I was like, oh, I used to drink them and say, beer. And getting laughs across the, you know, the family dinner table. But I was just wondering if you have any like comedians that you currently watch that you kind of look up to, or any in your past that you were like.
One of my great mates is Russell Howard. He's a British comedian. I talk to him nearly every day. I think he's great. I think and also when you get to a certain level, I find the pressures are really, you know, like, even if I go down to Big Ben, I still feel like I can't be shit. Yeah. It's almost like I would love to find a 200-seater somewhere and just have a different audience every night and just work a show up. That would be, and I think in America, like in New York, you can do like 8 shows a night. Oh yeah. And if you're doing 8 shows a night, 56 goes at it, by the end of the week, you probably can have that 5-minute bit firing, you know? So I know the pressures so I talk to him a lot, and I think he's hilarious.
The most I've ever laughed in my life. My friend Robert at school was kicking a gym door, right? And our teacher genuinely went, Robert! How would you like it if I smashed your back door in?
So, a little surprise thing that for all my guests here at Tejbz med Vänner is that I have a loot crate.
A cat.
Yeah, I wish I had a cat in here, but I have a little loot crate filled with loot from different, like companies have sent me this thing. Okay. So I've stolen it from different offices, and I filled up this little loot box. Yeah. That it's kind of inspired from a video game called PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Okay. It comes from the sky and lets you take like a cool gun or anything. But now I filled it with a bunch of stuff. Okay. So you are very welcome to, you know, go through it, find something that you want to keep and bring home. Maybe for yourself. I don't know. It could be pretty cool.
It's a cool. Backpack. Yeah. I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah. And there is a couple of things in here. I don't know if you are any fan of any video games that you recognize. Feel free to take it. There's this like some new stuff. It's a party set with Disney, Marvel stuff, and Frozen backpack. My friend Gurgen was here last week. He was like, if this is still here when I'm coming back in the fall, I'm gonna take this.
Well, backpack. I'm leaving that for Gurgen.
Yeah.
Bloody hell. Well, this is weird, isn't it? But you don't even tell me that, you know, when we were chatting, you didn't even go, and there's a surprise at the end.
This is just a little bonus. But this is like a microphone that I got. Here's some cups from Star Wars.
This is crazy, man.
Yeah. I feel like it's kind of, you know, environmentally friendly to put it down here and have guests kind of take something.
Especially with someone who is shit at A, gifts and stuff.
Yeah.
And B,
this is if you want to build like a computer or anything.
I'm out.
You know, maybe not for you.
I quite like the NZ, the New Zealand thing,
Yeah.
but what's a gaming sphere? What does what
That
happens
is
there?
a mouse pad, like a Red Bull gaming sphere. There's that Inferno Online.
One of those.
Yeah. And here's like a very ergonomical keyboard in case, you know, you want to rest
I
your
feel like I'm
hands.
getting tricked here that if I take a really big one, you'll go.
Absolutely not. Last week, I was really happy when Gurgin chose a couple of headphones. His headphones he'd lost one of his AirPods, and I had some wireless in here, so.
Fucking Gurgen should have taken that and left me with the AirPods.
Oh yeah, do you need them too? Well, I'm trying to get this one sponsored later.
What would be great, what I would love
Yeah.
is if you haven't recorded any of the first bit,
Yeah.
and this is the only bit you record,
Oh, yeah.
it's just me and you. This is just a knife.
Yeah,
My wife will be delighted.
if you can bring it home, cut some apples.
Photo album?
Yeah, Disney photo album. Could it
Could
be something?
What's the microphone thing like?
That is a USB microphone from Blue Microphones. It's called a Snowball. I actually used to use one of these when I recorded my very first videos on YouTube in 2009. And it's a newer version.
Any good?
It's pretty good, yeah.
This is everything to me.
Yeah. The Blue Snowball?
I think so, yeah.
I would love to see you in a Zoom call at the TV4 Nyhetsmorgon with that microphone in front of you.
So I could record, you reckon I could record?
Oh, absolutely.
Mate, I'm in.
Yeah. Get it. Blue Snowball microphone.
Oh
we
shit.
Turn on the lights.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a kind of, we're having a little bit of cozy.
That felt a bit like,
Yeah.
that's the end of the
That's
giveaway.
The end, yeah. But I'm like really happy that you came over and like starting to get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, great, man.
So
yeah.
it was definitely not too deep. I feel like it's an opportunity for me as well to learn about the people that are working in the industry, and you've done it so long that I can actually, you know, if I learn a little bit, I'm sure that the listeners too are going to learn.
Yeah, and I also think there's just these like little nuggets that I sort of picked up my whole career.
Yeah.
And you sort of have these moments where you go, someone says, you should wash your face, then write comedy. And you're like, you know, like, then you only use your right hand to write. And okay, you know.
Yeah.
So it's, but you find your own path. I think that's the cool thing. But I love the way that you consume comedy. It becomes an obsession.
Yeah.
And I love that, you know. But like I had the other night when it was shit.
Yeah.
These things happen.
Yeah. And I feel like, I'm not sure, but I feel like you never stop evolving. Like you're constantly, if you want to stay in the game, you need to constantly keep evolving and getting better at it.
Yeah, and I also think your standards have to be, I mean, that can be a worry though.
Yeah.
I think that is a problem sometimes when you come off stage and, you know, you're always like, oh, was that? Please, anybody?
You know?
Yeah, it was all right, wasn't it? It was all right. And people go, brilliant, but it's not enough for you.
Yeah.
You know, like you almost need them to put you on their shoulders and, you know, take you around town and go, this guy, you know. But that was the same thing as, you know, I remember like the biggest gig I did on the last tour was, you know, it was at Scandinavium. And they put in a security guard for my dressing room. And I waited. And you know when you go to see live bands and there's that black stage and they put the smoke out and you're like, you're there, you're pumped. I was behind about to go up the ladder, and I just couldn't get out of my head. They're here to see just me. Like there's nobody else that's going to speak. It really, and then afterwards, I walked out you know, the gig, and I walked out, and they were bringing down the arena.
Yeah.
There must have been like 150, 200 people working. Like it was big rigging, and I was like, it's all because I'm just writing jokes, you know. So it's amazing where it can go.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a brag, by the way. It's just some days you're going down to Big Ben and you're struggling, and then other days you're at Scandinavia.
Yeah.
You know, but it takes years.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad you stopped by and gave me all these insights and getting to know you a little bit better.
Thank you for the gift, my friend.
I'm looking forward to you plugging it in.
Yeah.